Okay, so I believe we're good to get started. Hi everyone, my name is Kafaya. I'm a community learning specialist at Do Space, and I'll be facilitating the Do Space Digital After School Coded session for today. So, what we have planned for today is a continuation from what we did last week. We would be continuing with Scratch. And Scratch, if you're not familiar, is a block-based visual programming language and website that is targeted primarily at children to help them code. Not necessarily children, but young people to help them learn how to code. It is a great way to introduce yourself to the world of programming because it's block based, so you're just clicking and dragging and you're able to bring programming concepts to life. So users of this site can create online projects like games or animations, and you use the block-like interface to create your games or your animations. And the fun thing about Scratch is you're able to share with your friends or your family, and they're able to maybe improve on your own game and remix it for you. So let's go ahead. So in our last session, we built or created or came up with the ball bounce game. So how the game works, for those of us that weren't here last week, is that you click on the game, you click on the ball. How the game works is that you click on the ball, and every time you click on the ball, your score goes up by 1 point. And something fun that we also learned was that you set a high score, and when your high score gets to 10, you get a celebratory screen like, yay, congratulations, you're a winner. So we learned how to switch from one background to another. Very fun. So, moving on to today, what we have planned is it's a step up from the ball bounce game, but this time we're not clicking, we're catching. So today we would be playing the Catch the Apple game, and this game consists of two sprites, which is the apple or a ball, it's your choice, and your bowl. So your apple falls from the top of the screen and or the top of your tree. And then at the bottom there's a bowl that you use to catch your apple. So it's fun and it's very seasonal. So you're able to move the bowl around with your computer mouse. We're going to learn how to use the sensing programming. So instead of like clicking and dragging or all of that, instead of making it tedious, you're able to just scroll through with your mouse or your trackpad just to catch as many apples as you can. So every time you position the ball under the falling apple, you score a point. That's exciting, right? Just a little bit more information on how our game is going to go today. For this game, we'll be taking it a step further, like I said. And while we're building this game, we're going to expand on variables. If you remember from our last lesson, we named our variable score, and that was where we used to collect all the points that we got from clicking on the ball. So for this one, we're going to use the same variable score to catch our apples. So every apple that you catch gives you 1 point. And we would also dive deeper into the operators and the sensing blocks. And I'm sure you're excited to see how that would work. And lastly, we would learn to control the behavior of our sprites using the if, then, and else conditions, which is a very popular programming term. So, without further ado, let's get started. So, for those of us that want to work alongside with me, I want to encourage you to go onto the scratch.mit.edu website. That is where we're going to be working on today. I'll give us a few minutes, a few seconds, so everyone can catch up to where I am or get onto the website, and then we can get started with building our game. I'm excited. I hope that you guys are as excited as I am. Okay, fix that up. Awesome. So scratch.mit.edu, just as it says right here at the top of my screen. If you go onto the website, and once you get to the home screen, I want you to go ahead and click on create. That's right next to the Scratch logo at the top of the page, and it should bring you to a page that looks like this once you click on create. Let me know in the chat if you're there. For those of us that are just joining, we're working on the Scratch website, which is scratch.mit.edu. If you have an account, log in and we can go from there. Awesome. Let me know if everyone is logged on to the website and we can continue with our exciting session for today. So the next step would be to name our games, because I'm sure you guys would build so many more amazing games, and it helps to name your game so you can come back, or just if you decide to share, just so your friends and family and everyone knows where exactly they're going or what game they're playing. So we're going to go ahead and name our game Catch the Apple. Awesome. And that should be good to go. Is everyone here with me? Has everyone named their game? So we're all catching the apples today. I like to eat apples, so I thought, why not catch apples to eat? Okay, so the next step is to go on right here where it says Sprite 1. As much as we love our little cat, we don't have anything to do with the cat today. Maybe in future activities we'd finally have use for the cat, but today we do not need our friendly cat, so we're going to say bye-bye. So to delete a sprite, just go right up here to the right corner or left corner, where you see the trash can right here, you click on that and it disappears. So after naming your game Catch the Apple and saying bye-bye to the cat, the first thing that we're going to do is to set the scenery for the game, right? So if you're catching an apple, you need apples to catch first of all, and the apple would be one sprite. And remember I said we needed 2 sprites for this game. Our second sprite is the bowl. So we need an apple, a bowl to catch the apple, and also something that would bring it to reality, make it more realistic. We are going to choose a background, right? So what I'm going to do first is to pick a backdrop for our game for today. So I've told you there's different options. You can either scroll down to browse through the gallery of backdrops that there are, or you can go up here if you know what you're looking for and search. So I'm gonna go ahead and search for a tree. And it narrows it down and gives me a list of, I guess, backdrops that have trees in them. And this one right here is my preferred. I'd like to encourage you to exercise your creativity and choose whichever backdrop you think that you prefer to use. Does that sound good? Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and select my sprites. Like we discussed, I'm taking an apple and I'm going to go ahead and do it again. I'm going to look for my bowl, and now I'm typing it in. Okay, awesome. So here is my bowl, and now we have our sprites and our backdrop, and the next thing that we're going to do is get to coding and programming. So let's give it a few seconds so everyone can be up to selecting their sprite and changing their background, let's just take a minute to do that, and we can go on with the programming. Cool. Let me know if you have any questions or if something isn't working the way mine is. I'm happy to help you. We're learning from each other, so let me know if you have a question or concern. Okay? Awesome. So first things first, I want to go ahead and what do you do to start a game? You press the green flag. So we're going to go look for our green flag. So I'm going to take this block that says when the green flag is clicked. I almost made a mistake right here. So we're going to, the first set of code that we're going to do is for the apple. Make sure that you clicked on your apple, and at the top of your screen right here in the workspace, make sure that your apple is right here. It lets you know what sprite you're putting the code for. So we wanted to see if I change it to my bowl, you can see my bowl is at the top right here, but I want it to work from my apple. So like I said earlier, when the green flag is clicked, we're going to click, drag, and place it right here. So when the green flag is clicked, let's go into naming our variables and declaring it so that we can get that out of the way. So I'm going to click on make a variable. Just like we did in the ball bounce game, we're naming it score. So now that we have score, I'm going to say okay. And now I'm going to click on my score. Oops, not yet. So now I want, when my green flag is clicked, I want to set my variable to 0. So all I have to do is use this drop down menu right here, click on that, and then I'm going to click, drag, and place it. So when my green flag is clicked, I want it to refresh my game and set my score to 0 always. You see? Awesome. So let's go on. When the green flag is clicked, set my score to 0. Now, since we know that we want our apple to forever fall from the tree, because of course that's how you know that your apple is good, right? So we would grab, first of all, before we do that, we want to tell our apple where to be. Like your apple is falling from the top, right? In order to set the direction, in order to position our apple, we're going to use the X and Y block, which we would find right here in the motions tab. So right here, I want to tell my apple to go to a certain position and always start there. So when my green flag is clicked, I want my apple to also like go to a starting position. So not only am I resetting my score, I want my apple to always refresh. My apples always have to go back to the top of the tree because apples on the floor aren't exactly fresh apples, right? Okay, so to get that done, I would go into my motions tab and then select the block that says go to X and Y. So right here, you see that after I moved my apple, it changed the location right here, right? You see that? Every time I move my apple to a different location, my x-axis right here, it changes. So what I'm gonna do is find somewhere that I prefer. And make my apple fall from there. So now I would go here. Let's put it at like my negative 33. Let's put it at like, and my y should be like 180. And my y, let's do 183, right? So that sets the location for my apple, as you can see. So when I click on my flag, you see that my apple goes to the starting position, which is the position that I gave it right here. So now we're moving on to what happens to the apple when it goes where it's supposed to start. What action is it supposed to take? And this is where we are going to go get our good friend, the forever block. We're going to, because we want this to be repetitive, so I'm going to need my forever block for that. So click, drag, and place. So what do I want to happen every time that how do I want my game to work? Do I want my apple to fall sideways, upwards? Obviously, it doesn't fall upwards, but yeah. So this is where we're going to do that, and we're going to put all of those instructions inside of our forever loop so that it happens over and over again. So we're going to use the same apple, but it'll fall from the tree several times so that it feels like we have plenty apples. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead now and go back into my motions tab, because that's where we get all our blocks of code regarding movement. And I'm going to go point my apple in a certain direction because I want it to fall straight down. So I'm going to go right here where it says point in direction 90. So a good way to learn how your program is working is to test it. So now I only just told it what direction to go in. With programs, you have to be very specific and tell it, okay, while I want you to turn in this direction, I also want you to move like 5 steps, 10 steps, 20 steps. So I want mine to move like 10 steps. So I'm going to go find the block that does that, and I would put it right below point in direction, and here we go. So let's test that out and see what happens. Oh no, that's not what I wanted. I wanted it to fall down, not go sideways. Does anyone have any suggestions as to how I can make that happen? Anyone have an idea? Okay. So right here, where it says 90, if you look at the arrow, it is pointing to the right. And I don't want that. I want it to go down. And in order to do that, I would make my apple fall in 180, not 90. Right? So let's test it out. Let's test it out to see what would happen this time. Oh, okay. But I also see another problem. It's working how I want, but my apple is kind of rotating. In order to fix that, I'm going to go back here. Let me go here in the direction. You can see how there's two icons, one that says it should turn and one that says do not turn. So I'm going to select the option that doesn't make my apple turn so that my apple falls down from my tree upright, just because I like it like that. So let's test this out right now. Awesome. See, that is very successful because it works just how I want it. And my apple is falling from the tree as expected. That is awesome. So what do we do next? Because our game, even though some things are working, our game isn't whole yet. It's not complete. So let me stop that and go on to the next step. Can anyone tell me what the next step should be? Does anyone have an idea of what we should do next? Oh, first of all, is everyone up to the same position that I am? Is everyone's code, is your apple falling straight down from your tree, and is it falling straight down and not sideways or turning? Okay, I'll give us a second so everyone can catch up and I'll be right back. Just a second so everyone can catch up, and I'll be right back. Is everyone good? Are we up to here? Cool. So remember how when describing the game, I said I wanted every time that my apple touched my bowl, I want it to give me a point. So let's test it out now. I don't get any scores. Oh. Okay, I also just noticed something that's a bit off. It looks like my apple is bigger than my bowl. And if I'm collecting several apples, as many apples as I want, it would make sense that my bowl be big enough to collect as many apples as I get, right? So I'm going to do something very cool right here. So you see I'm clicking on my apple, and right here at the top where it says size, I'm going to reduce the size of my apple to 80, or let's do 70. And now that my apple is smaller, I also want to make sure that my bowl is big enough to accommodate all the many apples that I'm going to be collecting today. So now I'm going to change the size of my bowl. I'm going to make my bowl bigger. So I would maybe make my bowl double the size of my apple. Since my apple is 70, I want my bowl to be 140. So right here at the top is where you change the size of your bowl. Can you see? So if we try this again, our bowl is big enough to take our apples. Cool. So back to where we were. Right now, we want to tell our program that every time that our apple touches our bowl, give me a score, right? So to do that, that's where we're introducing our conditions, where if touching bowl, then give me a score. Increase my point by 1 or 10 or whatever. So it's like having a conversation, right? So I'm going to go in here to my variables. No, before I do that, I need to get my condition. And if you look in the control tab, there's several different blocks. We have the if, then if, then, else. But for this one, we just need the if, then block. So I'm going to click on it, drag it, and because it's part of the repetitive part of my code, it has to go in the forever loop because I want it to happen over and over again, not once. So I'm putting it in my forever loop. And then now, how do I get it to understand when it touches my bowl? So I'm going to go in here where I have my sensing, right? In this tab, there's so many fun things that you can do with the sensing tab. So I'm going to say, look through and look for the block that best fits what I'm trying to do. If touching mouse pointer, there's also a drop down menu. If touching color, no, we don't need that today. If color dash is touching color, we don't need that. Distance, we don't need that. Ask, no. So I think we already found the block that we need specifically for this program. So I'm going to click on the drop down option and select my bowl. So if touching bowl, what do I want to happen? I want you to give me a score. So if touching bowl, if touching bowl, what am I going to do next? I want you to change my score. To do this, I'm going back to my variables tab. So change my score by 1. So I'm going to click, drag, and place it. So this is what happens if my condition is met. If my apple touches my bowl, so what? So give me a score. Change my score by 1. Okay. Is everyone, is it working for you the same way? Cool. Is it working for you the same way? Cool. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll be happy to answer or help you. But let me know if there's any unique ways that you came up with this. Okay. So let's see. Let's test this out to see what would happen if my apple touches my bowl. Oh. Okay, so what it looks like is like my apple is right here. If it's touching my bowl, it doesn't matter how, my score just keeps going up. But we want it to be a repetitive action, right? So we have to tell our apple that after touching the bowl, just because we're using one apple, we have to tell it that after touching the bowl, I want you to go back up and repeat the process. And to do that, I'm just going to copy this same block. Ooh, not everything. This same block. Separate. Not everything. So, I guess I just showed you guys how to like copy your code. You can just duplicate it and take out the one you don't need. All I need is this block just because I want it to go back to this position. So I'm going to click, drag, and place it right below change score by 1 so that so like my apple would go back up every time after it touches the bowl or after it touches the floor. Let's see. Oopsie. It didn't touch the bowl, so nothing happened. Okay, it didn't touch the bowl, so my game stopped. But no, I wanted to go again, so I'm going to stop this and put the bowl right here where I know the apple is going to fall, just for testing purposes. As you can see, every time it touches my bowl, it goes back up and it comes again, so I'm catching several apples, and now I'm up to 10 because my apple is touching my bowl. Let me make that bigger so you can see what I'm talking about. See, every time it touches, it just like my bowl absorbs it and we get another apple from the top. Okay, so let's go back and stop this. So now we've gotten our apple to work right, but the apple is just falling from the same direction every time, and that's a bit predictable. We don't want that. That's not fun. Everyone's gonna win the game if we do it like that, right? So what I'm going to do next is to tell my apple to fall from anywhere. Just fall from anywhere that you want to. Like, surprise me. So let's go ahead and do something that's gonna surprise our players or whoever plays our game. So now to do that, I want us to go to our operators tab. And when you get in here, you're going to select a random value. So we want it, and in order to find what our random value is, we want to know what the 2 points on our x-axis are. So you see, now that I have my apple at the top corner of my page, it tells me my x is at negative 216. I want you to write down the number if you can't remember it, or just mark it down on your mind. So anywhere between 216 or negative 216 or 217 would work for exactly what we want, because we want the ball to fall from anywhere random between here and here. So I'm going to go to the other end to try to mark that position also. Oops. So let's just say a rough number of like 220, 222, 205. Let's give it like 215. Okay, so I'm going to go here and pick random and put it right in the bubble in front of my x value. And now I'm going to go ahead and write down the two numbers, negative 216 to, let's do positive 2:15. Awesome. So let's see. 2:15. Awesome. So let's see. Right now, you can see the apple surprises us and just falls from a different location every time. But now I have to click on my, in order to make it work, I have to drag my bowl, and that's very tedious, right? So let me give us a few minutes to complete our code on our apple, because right now it looks like our apple works just exactly how we want it to. But our bowl doesn't, because we haven't put any program on the apple. You know, in Scratch, if you're using several sprites, you have to make your code specific to every sprite. Even if they're doing the same thing, you have to make sure they have the same code. So I click on my apple, you see all that we have worked on and all the code that we use to get our apple to work the way that we want. But when I click on my bowl, there's absolutely nothing happening. Does anyone have any suggestions as to how we want to make our bowl behave today? We want to make our bowl behave today. Okay, let me give you a few minutes to think about that. Okay, let me give you a few minutes to think about that. Tell me. So this is what we have for our apple so far, and our apple just behaves the way that we want it to. It falls from two very random positions. Oopsie. It falls from two very random positions. Our apple is not very predictable, right? Our apple is not very predictable. So how do I make it work that if I move my mouse, my bowl would move along with my mouse? Does anyone have any suggestions on how to make my bowl move according to my mouse? Let's take a few seconds to think about that and let me know what you guys suggest. How do I solve that problem? I can give you a hint. The solution to that problem can be found in the Sensing tab. But what else? I definitely need something else other than my Sensing tab to make it happen, right? So just like we have the green flag to start our game for the apple, for the sprite, that's the apple, we want to do the same thing for the bowl. So I'm going to go here, and when the green flag is clicked, what do I want to happen? That's the first step. Who wants to tell me what block I need next? That's the first step. Who wants to tell me what block I need next? So when my green flag is clicked, because it's a repetitive action, I'm going to need a loop for that, because it's going to happen over and over again. That every time I click on my green flag, do this. So I'm going to go into my control tab and look for my forever loop. And now I'm clicking, dragging, and placing it all for my bowl. Remember, under my apple, this is the code that I have. And under my bowl, we're working on that. It's still work in progress. So, tell me, what do I need in my Sensing tab for my... It's kind of very similar to what we did with the apple, but who can tell me? Who has any ideas on how I can make my bowl move? We need like 2 more blocks, and they're both in the group of code that we have for our apple. Very similar. Okay, so let me tell you what it is. So now I'm right here. Click on my bowl. So the first thing I'm going to need is to go into my Motions tab and I need the block of code that deals with direction and movement of my x and my y axis, right? So now I'm going to move my bowl to the end so I can see what number it will give me. So if you've been testing your code so far, you would have noticed how your apple picks a random position to fall from, which is awesome, which is great because that's what we want. But this only happens if it touches my bowl. And when it doesn't touch my bowl, it just kind of sits there, right? That's fine. That means like our player has lost the game. That means the game is over because you didn't collect your apples. So, oops, bye bye. So, how do I get my bowl to move with my computer mouse? How do I get my bowl to follow my computer mouse? So I'm going to grab the block that deals with my x and my y position right here. Go to x and y. But I need my mouse to move with my direction, right? I need my bowl to move as I sway my mouse. Anywhere I move my mouse to on the bottom of the page, I want my mouse to do the same thing. So now I'm going to go into my sensing tab, remember, and right here I select my mouse X for the X axis, and now if I click on the green flag and oopsie, let me change my Y to negative 160. So, start it. See? So every time that I move my mouse now, it just kicked into action. Just like that. This is fun. Let's see. Nice. Can you see? Now all I have to do is move my mouse, but if you're not using a mouse, just move your trackpad towards your apple or in any direction that you want, and your apple counts and you catch your apple. Now I've gotten up to 30 apples. That's fun. Let me stop it for a second so I can go full screen and show you guys. So that's basically it. That's how we catch apples from a tree. Let me make this full screen so we can start from scratch. This is what I have. Catching my mouse. Catching my apple. This is very cool. And the fun thing about this is that you can apply this concept to any other game that you choose to catch. So if you decided to go fishing, all you have to do is change the background in a way that maybe you're in the ocean, and then instead of using a bowl to catch apples, you could catch fish. It's very exciting. You can use the same concept from today to catch your apples, to catch anything that you want to catch. It works in any way. So basically, that's all I have for you for today. I'll hang around for a few more seconds if you need any assistance completing your own game. I'm happy to help you in any way that I can. So just let me know, okay? I'll show you my code for my apple, and this is my code for my bowl. So let me know. Or if you want to watch me play our game, hold on and make that full screen. You can see this is what we have executed. This is what happens with all of that code that we just did. Awesome. Quite exciting, right? So I'll stop there. And then let me know if you have any questions or any comments. I'll be more than happy to help you, okay? But that's all that we have for today. So if you have any questions, feel free to email us at hello@dospace.org, or if you completed your game and you wanted to show us something creative that you came up with for your own game, please feel free to send it to me at hello@dospace.org. I'm excited to see all that you guys come up with. Okay? Well, thank you for joining me today. I would see you in my next session. Awesome. Thank you. Bye.